The Lakers have a center problem. I think everyone can agree. Jaxson Hayes and Alex Len are the only true big men in the rotation, and that's just not gonna cut it. Last night's rebounding numbers were a disaster. The Hornets completely owned the glass. Mark Williams, who the Lakers almost had at the trade deadline, grabbed 9 boards by himself. One Hornet had 8, 2 more had 6, another 2 had 5. Meanwhile, the Lakers starting center, Hayes, only pulled down 4. That's unacceptable. Rebounding isn't just about effort, it's about size and positioning. And right now, the Lakers don't have enough of either. Hayes is athletic, but he's not a natural rebounder. Len's got size, but he's not playing enough minutes to make a difference. If they're getting dominated by a team like the Hornets, what happens against teams with real size? Opponents are getting way too many second chance points, and it's killing their momentum. The Lakers have talent, but without more help in the middle, they're gonna keep getting pushed around in the paint. Before we get to people, I think our options. Let's talk about the guys currently on the squad. Let's start with Hayes. Jaxson Hayes has been decent as a backup big, but the Lakers are trying to use him as their starting center on a championship level team, and that's just not gonna work. He's efficient, he plays hard, and he's got some solid numbers, but when you really break it down, he's not giving them enough. The Lakers need a reliable presence in the paint, and Hayes just isn't built to be that guy every single night. Let's start with his scoring. He's averaging 5.9 points per game, which is better than 41% of players in the league. That's fine for a role player off the bench, but for a team with championship aspirations, their starting center can't be putting up backup level numbers. And it's not like he's adding a scoring punch in a limited role, he's just finishing easy plays at the rim. He's not creating his own shots, he's not stretching the floor, and he's not forcing opposing defenses to adjust to him at all. That makes the Lakers' offense even easier to guard. Now, his shooting efficiency looks great on paper. He's got a 70.6 effective field goal percentage and a 72.3 true shooting percentage, both ranking in the 97th percentile. That's elite, but here's the thing. He's barely shooting the ball. He only takes 3.4 shots a game, and every single one of them is right at the basket. He hasn't hit a single 3 this season. His offense is efficient because all he's doing is catching lobs and finishing easy dunks. That's great in a limited role, but when the Lakers need their starting center to be more than just a dunker, he's giving them nothing. His offensive rating of 115 is solid, but his defensive rating of 110.8 almost cancels it out. His net rating is a positive 4.2, which means the Lakers are slightly better when he's on the floor, but that's not nearly enough to justify him as a full-time starter. He's helping, but only slightly, and that's a problem when he's being asked to anchor the front court. One of the biggest issues is his rebounding. He's only grabbing 4.2 rebounds per game. That's not just bad for a starting center, it's unacceptable. The Lakers are already struggling with size, and they need their big man to be pulling down boards every single night. Instead, Hayes is barely securing possessions for them. He's grabbing 2.8 defensive rebounds per game, which ranks worse than 90% of players in the league. That's insane for a center. His defensive rebound percentage of 15.12 puts him in the bottom 10% of players, meaning nearly everyone in the league is doing a better job securing defensive rebounds than he is. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Hayes. On the offensive glass, he's slightly better, grabbing 1.3 offensive rebounds a game, which puts him in the 67th percentile. That's solid, but it's not making up for his overall lack of rebound. The Lakers don't just need an occasional putback dunk, they need someone who can control the glass, and Hayes just isn't doing that. His assist numbers aren't much better. He averages 1 assist per game and assists on just 7.84% of his team's field goals while he's on the floor. That ranks him in the bottom 31% of players. His turnover percentage of 11.48 is better than 81% of players, but that's mostly because he doesn't handle the ball much. He's not turning it over because he's barely creating plays to begin with. Defensively, he's decent, but nowhere near elite. He's averaging 0.6 steals and 0.9 blocks per game, which is respectable, but it's not shutting anyone down. His mixed team defense metric ranks him better than 74% of players, which is good, but that still means a quarter of the league is doing a better job on that end. He's not an elite shot blocker, he's not locking down opposing bigs, and he's not making life difficult for teams attacking the paint. His usage rate is only 11.7%, meaning he's barely involved in the offense. That's fine for a backup big whose job is just to finish plays, but when he's being asked to start, it's a serious problem. The Lakers aren't getting enough production from their starting center spot, and with Hayes playing such a limited role offensively, they're basically playing 4-on-5 when he's out there. The Lakers need a center who can control the glass, protect the rim, and provide a reliable inside presence. And right now, Hayes just isn't doing that. He's not a bad player. He's just not a starting caliber center on a championship team. He's great as an energy guy off the bench, running the floor and finishing around the rim, but that's where his value ends. When he's in the starting lineup, his weaknesses get exposed, and the Lakers are paying the price. Championship teams don't rely on guys with 4 rebounds a game and an 11.7 usage rate to anchor their front court. They need someone who can dominate the paint, and Hayes isn't that guy. He's got the athleticism, but he doesn't have the strength or the rebounding instincts to hold his own against elite big men. The Lakers are getting crushed on the glass, night after night, and a big reason for that is that their starting center just isn't pulling down boards. And it's not like this is a small issue. The Lakers are trying to win a title, but they're getting bullied in the paint because they don't have a real starting caliber center. Hayes is doing the best he can, but he's not the answer. The numbers back it up. His rebounding isn't good enough. His defense is average at best, and his offensive impact is basically non-existent outside of dunk. The Lakers need more, and if they don't fix this soon, it's going to cost them in the playoffs. At the end of the day, Jaxson Hayes is a fine backup, but that's exactly what he is, a backup. He's not a starting center on a championship contender, and the longer the Lakers keep pretending he is, the more they're going to struggle. They need a real big man who can control the glass, protect the rim, and give them reliable production every night. Hayes isn't doing that, and it's hurting them. If the Lakers are serious about contending, they've got to find a way to get more size and toughness in the paint, because right now, this just isn't working. But then we can talk about Alex Len. Alex Len is simply not good enough to be in a championship rotation. Yet the Lakers are relying on him to provide backup minutes at center. That's a huge problem. The Lakers are already struggling with depth at the 5 spot, and throwing Len into the mix isn't helping. His production is minimal. His impact on both ends of the floor is negative, and when he's on the court, the Lakers are getting outplayed. This is not a player who should be in the rotation of a team that has title aspirations. Let's start with his scoring, or lack thereof. Len is averaging just 1.5 points per game. That's not just bad for a center, it's bad for any player in the league. His scoring output ranks him above only 10% of NBA players. That means 90% of the league is scoring more than him. The Lakers don't need him to be an offensive force, but they at least need a center who can give them something. Instead, Len is barely even involved. He takes just 1.2 shots per game. That's almost nothing. Even worse, his shooting efficiency is below average. His effective field goal percentage is 53.3, and his true shooting percentage is 53.9. That's well below the league average, meaning he's struggling to convert the few opportunities he gets. And it's not like he's taking tough shots. He's a 7-footer who plays close to the rim, yet his efficiency numbers are still subpar. He hasn't hit a single 3 all season, so he's not stretching the floor. He's not creating his own shot. He's not forcing the defense to adjust to him in any way. The only time he scores is when he's right under the basket. And even then, he's not doing it at a high rate. If his offense was bad, his defense is even worse. His offensive rating of 106.5 is below average, but his defensive rating of 121.3 is absolutely brutal. That gives him a net rating of negative 14.8. That means the Lakers are getting outscored by almost 15 points per 100 possessions when he's on the floor. That's one of the worst marks in the league. You can't be a liability on both ends and still expect to get meaningful minutes on a title contending team. And it's not just a bad game here or there. His impact is consistently negative. He's had a positive plus minus in only 32.4% of his games. That means in nearly 70% of the games he plays, the Lakers are losing ground while he's on the floor. That's not a small sample size issue. That's a trend. His on-off rating is negative 7.5, which means the Lakers are almost 8 points worse when he plays. Now, let's talk about his rebounding, because that might be the most unacceptable part of his game. He's averaging just 1.2 defensive rebounds per game. That's horrific for a 7-footer. How can a player that big not grab boards? His defensive rebound percentage is abysmal, ranking him in the bottom percentiles of the entire league. His mixed team defense metric ranks him in the bottom 4% of players, meaning almost everyone in the NBA is playing better defense than him. He's providing no resistance in the paint. He's not blocking shots. He's not altering shots. He's not grabbing rebounds. His defensive efficiency rating of 121.3 is among the worst in the league. If you're a center and you can't defend or rebound, what exactly are you bringing to the table? His assist numbers are not much better. He averages just 0.9 assists per game. That's not surprising given his role, but it gets worse. He assists on 15.84% of his team's field goals while on the floor, ranking him in the bottom 30% of players. He's slightly better than Hayes in this category, but that doesn't mean much when everything else is this bad. And despite barely handling the ball, he still has a turnover percentage of 11.58. That ranks in the 4th percentile, meaning he's turning it over at a higher rate than almost everyone in the league. That makes no sense for a player who barely touches the ball. And speaking of barely touching the ball, his usage rate is just 9.6%. That's even lower than Theis. The Lakers are basically playing 4-on-5 when he's out there. He's not creating anything for himself or his teammates. He's not making an impact. He's just taking up space. The numbers don't lie. Len is not a positive contributor in any area of the game. His scoring is minimal. His efficiency is below average. His rebounding is non-existent. His defense is a liability. His impact on winning is negative. The Lakers desperately need center depth, but playing Len is making things worse, not better. And it's not just about the numbers, it's about what those numbers mean for the Lakers as a team. When Len is on the floor, they're giving up too many second chance points because he's not securing rebounds. Opposing bigs are having a field day against him because he's not providing any resistance at the rim. Offensively, he's not a threat at all, so defenses can completely ignore him and focus on stopping the Lakers' star players. He's making their weaknesses even worse instead of helping to cover them up. Championship teams don't play guys like this. They can't afford to. The Lakers have a serious issue at center, and right now, they're trying to plug that hole with a player who is actively hurting them every time he steps on the court. If they don't address this soon, it's going to cost them in the playoff. At this point, the Lakers need to seriously consider moving on from Len. He's not helping, and he's taking up a roster spot that could be used on someone who actually provides value. He's not a starting caliber big. He's not even a reliable backup, and he's certainly not a piece that should be in a championship rotation. The Lakers are trying to compete for a title, and playing Len is holding them back. The bottom line is simple. Alex Len is not good enough to be in this rotation. He's not a scorer, not a defender, not a rebounder, not a playmaker, and not a shot blocker. He's a 7-footer who plays like he's 6 feet tall. The Lakers need size, toughness, and rim protection, and Len is giving them none of that. Every minute he plays is a wasted minute. If the Lakers want to be a serious contender, they need to fix their center depth, because right now, this is not a winning formula. But now let's talk about some options I think the Lakers have. First, Daniel Theis. Let's start with his overall impact. His offensive rating of 111.5 isn't elite, but it's solid for a role-playing big man. He knows how to pick his spots, finish efficiently, and make smart decisions with the ball. His defensive rating of 117.2 isn't perfect, but it's nowhere near as bad as some of the other bigs the Lakers have relied on this season. His net rating of -5.7 isn't ideal, but here's the important part. His on-off rating is +4.1. That means his team has actually played better when he's on the court. That alone makes him a better option than both Theis and Len, who have consistently hurt the Lakers whenever they're on the floor. Now, let's talk about rebounding, because this is one of the biggest reasons why Theis would be a great fit for the Lakers. He's averaging 4.3 rebounds per game, which ranks better than 81% of players in the league. That might not sound like a huge number, but when you compare it to the Lakers' current options, it's a massive improvement. His defensive rebounding is even more impressive. He pulls down 3.2 defensive boards per game, ranking better than 74% of players. The Lakers have been getting crushed on the glass all season, and Theis would instantly help them clean that up. His defensive rebound percentage of 19.32 is one of his strongest attributes. That ranks in the 84th percentile, meaning he's securing a high percentage of available defensive rebounds when he's on the floor. Neither Theis nor Len are anywhere close to that level. And on the offensive glass, he's just as effective. He's grabbing 1.2 offensive rebounds per game, which ranks better than 67% of players. That's huge for a Lakers team that struggles to get second chance opportunities. Offensively, Theis isn't a high usage player, but that's exactly why he'd fit so well with the Lakers. His usage rate is just 11.5%, meaning he doesn't need the ball to be effective. That's what makes him such a great fit. The Lakers already have plenty of scorers. They don't need their center demanding touches. They need someone who can set screens, finish efficiently, and make the right plays. And that's exactly what Theis does. He's not going to clog the offense, but he's also not going to be invisible like Len. One of the biggest reasons why Theis is such an upgrade over the Lakers' current options is his passing. He averages 1.6 assists per game, which ranks better than 53% of players. That might not sound like a lot, but it's a massive improvement over Theis and Len, who offer almost nothing as playmakers. His assist rate of 13.07 means he's assisting on a solid percentage of his team's field goals when he's on the floor. That's exactly the kind of player the Lakers need at the 5 spot. And he takes care of the ball too. His turnover percentage of 10.82 is better than 70% of players, meaning he's not making careless mistakes. That's a big deal, especially when you compare him to someone like Len, who barely touches the ball but still turns it over at an alarming rate. Theis actually knows how to make the right play, whether it's making the extra pass, setting a solid screen, or finishing around the rim. Defensively, Theis isn't a shot-blocking monster, but he's a smart and physical defender who knows how to hold his own in the paint. He's not an elite rim protector, but he's also not getting bullied every time an opposing big goes at him. His mixed team defense metric isn't elite, but he's far better than Len, who has been a complete disaster on that end. More importantly, Theis has experience guarding elite players, and he's not going to get exposed in big moments. That's something the Lakers desperately need from their center rotation. Another reason why Theis makes so much sense for the Lakers is his experience. He's played in big games, he's been a part of successful teams, and he understands what it takes to contribute on a contender. That's a massive contrast to Hayes, who's still trying to figure out his role in the league, or Len, who simply isn't good enough to be in a championship rotation. Theis isn't a star, but he's a veteran who knows how to play his role effectively. That's exactly what the Lakers need. The Lakers don't need Theis to be a dominant force. They just need him to be solid. And that's exactly what he is. He's a reliable rebounder, a capable defender, and an efficient finisher around the rim. He's not going to take over a game, but he's also not going to disappear when they need him. That's what separates him from the Lakers' current center rotation. If the Lakers want to compete for a title, they need to upgrade their front court, and Theis is one of the best options available. He's not a long-term solution, but he's exactly the kind of player they need to stabilize their center rotation for the rest of the season. He brings toughness, consistency, and experience. 3 things the Lakers are sorely lacking at the 5 spot. But then we can check out another option, JaVale McGee. McGee isn't a high-volume scorer, but when he does shoot, he converts at an excellent rate. His effective field goal percentage of 60.5 ranks in the 86th percentile, and his true shooting percentage of 61.5 ranks in the 81st percentile. That's elite efficiency. He's only taking 2.8 shots per game, but he's making the most of them. His points per field goal attempt sits at 1.2, which is a great number for a center who doesn't shoot threes. He's not a floor spacer, but he doesn't need to be. He understands his strengths, sticks to them, and provides an efficient scoring option inside. That's exactly what the Lakers need. McGee's offensive role is simple, but extremely effective. His usage rate is 22.2%, which means he's involved in a good number of offensive plays when he's on the floor. That's a major improvement over the Lakers' current center, who barely get involved at all. His presence as a roller, lob threat, and dunker forces defenses to respect him inside. He sets screens, finishes strong, and gives the Lakers an actual inside presence. The Lakers need a center who can be a legitimate option around the rim, and McGee checks that box. Rebounding is another area where McGee would be a massive upgrade. He's averaging 2.7 rebounds per game, which may not seem like a huge number, but his rebounding percentages tell a different story. His offensive rebound percentage of 11.26 ranks in the 94th percentile. That means when he's on the floor, he's grabbing a huge percentage of available offensive boards. That's exactly the kind of presence the Lakers need. They've struggled to create second chance opportunities, and McGee would help solve that problem immediately. His defensive rebounding is just as impressive. He's pulling down 1.8 defensive rebounds per game, but his defensive rebound percentage of 23.4 ranks in the 77th percentile. That's significantly better than what the Lakers are getting from Jaxson Hayes or Alex Len. The Lakers are getting dominated on the glass almost every night, and McGee would instantly help fix that issue. He's an active rebounder who knows how to use his size to his advantage. Defensively, McGee isn't an elite rim protector, but he's still a strong presence in the paint. His mixed team defense metric ranks in the 48th percentile, which puts him around league average. That may not sound like much, but when you compare it to the Lakers' current options, it's a huge upgrade. He's averaging 0.5 blocks per game, which isn't dominant, but it's still a valuable contribution. More importantly, his presence inside forces opponents to think twice before attacking the paint. One thing that separates McGee from the Lakers' current centers is his ability to make an impact in limited minutes. He doesn't need to play a ton to be effective. He's been playing this role for years, and he's mastered it. Whether he's playing 10 minutes or 20, he brings the same energy every time he steps on the court. That's something the Lakers desperately need. They need a center who can give them valuable minutes without becoming a liability, and McGee is that guy. Another reason why McGee would be a great fit is his experience. He's played on championship teams, he knows what it takes to win, and he understands how to fit into a system. That's something the Lakers' current center rotation lacks. Jaxson Hayes is still trying to find his role in the league, and Alex Len simply isn't good enough to be in a championship rotation. McGee, on the other hand, has been in the playoffs multiple times and knows how to contribute in high-pressure situations. That's something you can't teach, and it's exactly what the Lakers need. McGee also brings something that can't be measured by stats: energy and athleticism. The Lakers need a big man who can run the floor, catch lobs, and finish strong inside. That's exactly what McGee does. Even at this stage of his career, he's still one of the most athletic big men in the league. He's always active, always looking for opportunities to score, and always hustling. That's the kind of presence the Lakers need. The Lakers don't need McGee to be a dominant force. They just need him to be solid. And that's exactly what he is. He's an efficient finisher, a strong rebounder, and a capable defender. He's not going to take over a game, but he's also not going to disappear when they need him. That's a massive upgrade over what they currently have. But then I want to talk about another veteran, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard would be an excellent signing for the Lakers. Even though he hasn't played in the NBA since 2022, his numbers from that season prove that he can still make a real impact. He's efficient, he rebounds at an elite level, and he brings the toughness that the Lakers desperately need in the paint. The Lakers' center rotation has been a complete disaster, and adding a veteran big like Howard would instantly make them better. He's played for championship teams, he knows how to fit into a system, and most importantly, he actually plays like a real center. Let's start with his scoring. Howard averaged 6.2 points per game in his last NBA season, which ranked better than 45% of players. That's solid for a backup big, especially one who isn't asked to create his own offense. But what makes Howard valuable isn't just his scoring, it's his efficiency. His effective field goal percentage of 63 and his true shooting percentage of 64.8, both ranked in the 92nd percentile. That means he wasn't just finishing plays, he was doing it at an elite level. He's not a high volume shooter, but when he takes a shot, it's almost always a high percentage look. Howard's offensive game has never been about versatility. He's not a shooter, and he's not a playmaker. But that's not what the Lakers need. They need a big man who can finish at the rim, set screens, and grab offensive boards. Howard checks every one of those boxes. His points per field goal attempt of 1.3 show that he's making the most of his opportunities. He doesn't waste possessions, and he's always looking to score in the most efficient way possible. That's exactly the kind of big the Lakers need to complement their star players. One of the biggest reasons the Lakers should sign Howard is his rebounding. He averaged 5.9 rebounds per game in his last NBA season, which ranked better than 95% of players. That's elite. His defensive rebounding was especially strong. He pulled down 4 per game, which ranked in the top tier of players at his position. The Lakers have been getting dominated on the glass all season, and Howard would instantly help solve that problem. His rebounding percentages are even more impressive. His defensive rebounding percentage of 24.61 ranked in the 94th percentile, meaning he was grabbing a huge percentage of available defensive rebounds when he was on the floor. That's exactly what the Lakers need. They've struggled to secure rebounds, and Howard would immediately bring that toughness inside. And it's not just defensive rebounding. Howard is also an elite offensive rebounder. He grabbed 2 offensive boards per game, which ranked better than 95% of players. His offensive rebounding percentage of 11.93 proves that he's a major presence on the glass. That's something the Lakers have been missing all season. They struggle with second chance opportunities, and Howard would fix that problem right away. Defensively, Howard isn't the same dominant force he was in his prime, but he's still solid. His mixed team defense metric ranked in the 46th percentile in his last NBA season, meaning he was around league average in terms of overall defensive impact. But here's the thing, his presence in the paint still made a difference. He averaged 0.6 steals and 0.6 blocks per game, which might not sound like much, but his interior presence forced teams to adjust their shots. One of the biggest advantages of signing Howard is his physicality. The Lakers need a big who isn't afraid to bang inside, contest shots, and throw his weight around in the paint. Howard has been doing that for years. Even at this stage of his career, he's still a tough, physical defender who makes life difficult for opposing bigs. That's something the Lakers' current center rotation lacks. Another reason why Howard would be a great fit is his experience. He's played on championship teams. He knows what it takes to win, and he understands how to fit into a system. That's something the Lakers' current center rotation is missing. Jaxson Hayes is still trying to figure out his role in the league, and Alex Len simply isn't good enough to be in a championship rotation. Howard, on the other hand, has been in big moments, and he knows what's needed to win at the highest level. Howard also brings something that can't be measured by stats: energy and intensity. The Lakers need a big man who plays with passion, attacks the glass, and provides a spark off the bench. That's exactly what Howard does. Even at this stage of his career, he's still a high motor player who who hustles every time he's on the court. That's the kind of presence the Lakers need in their front court. His usage rate of 14% is another reason he'd be a great fit. That means he's involved in offensive plays, but he's not demanding touches. He's not going to take shots away from the Lakers stars, but he's also not going to be invisible on offense. He knows his role, and he plays within it. That's a massive upgrade over someone like Len, who barely gets involved at all. Another area where Howard would help is setting screens. The Lakers need a big who can free up their shooters, and Howard has always been great at setting hard screens. That's something that doesn't show up in the box score, but it makes a huge difference on the court. The Lakers don't need Howard to be a superstar, they just need him to be solid, and that's exactly what he is. He's an efficient finisher, a dominant rebounder, and a strong interior presence. He's not going to take over a game, but he's also not going to disappear when they need him. That's a massive upgrade over what they currently have. But then I want to talk about one last option, probably my least favorite option, but Mo Bamba. Let's talk about it. Let's start with his defense. The mixed team defense metric ranks in the 68th percentile, meaning he's above average at preventing opponents from scoring. He's a legitimate rim protector who makes it difficult for teams to attack the paint. He averages 1 block per game, which might not sound dominant, but his presence alone forces teams to adjust their shots. That's exactly what the Lakers need. They've been struggling with interior defense. His rebounding is another area where he would be a major upgrade. He averages 4.3 rebounds per game, which ranks better than 91% of players. That's solid production, especially when compared to the Lakers' current center rotation. His defensive rebounding is even more impressive. He pulls down 3.4 defensive rebounds per game, ranking better than 81% of players. The Lakers have been getting dominated on the boards, and Bamba would bring much needed help in that area. His defensive rebounding percentage of 26.26 ranks in the 96th percentile, which means he's securing a huge percentage of available defensive rebounds when he's on the floor. That's exactly what the Lakers need. They've struggled to close out defensive possessions, and Bamba would bring a presence in the paint that forces teams to think twice before attacking the rim. On the offensive glass, Bamba is also solid. He grabs 0.9 offensive rebounds per game, which ranks better than 81% of players. His offensive rebounding percentage of 7.43 shows that he's still making an impact on second chance opportunities. That's something the Lakers have been missing all season. They need a big who can create extra possessions, and Bamba would help with that. One of the best things about Bamba is that he doesn't just rebound and defend, he can also stretch the floor. His usage rate of 16.7% shows that he's involved in the offense, but he's not a high-volume scorer. That's exactly what the Lakers need. He's not going to demand the ball, but he's also not going to be invisible on offense. He's capable of knocking down shots, which makes him a perfect fit alongside the Lakers' star players. Another reason Bamba would be a great fit is his ability to run the floor. The Lakers need a big who can keep up with their pace, and Bamba's athleticism allows him to do that. He's not just a traditional back-to-the-basket center. He can space the floor, block shots, and make an impact without needing a ton of touches. That's exactly the kind of player the Lakers need in their front court. His passing isn't a major strength, but he's also not a liability. He averages 0.6 assists per game, which isn't a huge number, but it's enough to show that he can make the right play when needed. More importantly, he takes care of the ball. His turnover percentage is low, meaning he's not making careless mistakes that cost his team possession. That's a huge plus for a team that needs stability at the center position. Overall though, the Lakers have to make a move at center if they want to compete for a championship. Right now, they're getting bullied inside, and it's only going to get worse against stronger, more physical teams in the playoffs. Hayes and Len simply aren't getting the job done, and the numbers prove it. The rebounding struggles, the lack of defensive presence, the inability to control the paint. It's all adding up to a major problem. The Lakers have too much talent to let their season fall apart because they don't have a legitimate big man to anchor the middle. The good news? There are options. Signing a guy like Theis would instantly improve the front court. He's not a star, but he's a capable defender, a solid rebounder, and a smart veteran who understands his role. The Lakers need someone who can provide consistency at the 5, and Theis would do just that. McGee is another option. He's played on championship teams before. He knows how to run the floor, block shots, and finish strong at the rim. He's not an elite rebounder, but he's an instant upgrade over Hayes and Len or Dwight Howard. He's not the player he was in his prime, but he can still be a force inside. He rebounds at an elite level, protects the rim, and brings a physicality the Lakers are desperately missing. If they want toughness and energy, Howard would be a great fit. Then there's Mo Bamba, a younger option who offers size, rebounding, and some shot blocking ability. He's not as experienced as the others, but he provides some versatility with his ability to stretch the floor. The bottom line, the Lakers can't keep rolling with their current center rotation if they want to contend. The front office needs to make a move, and they need to do it soon. There are viable options out there, and any one of them would be an improvement over what the Lakers have now. It's time to stop getting bullied inside and start controlling the paint. The Lakers have championship aspirations, but if they don't fix their center problem, they'll be watching from home when it matters most. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.